Your legs are growing weaker every single week, and the process is happening right now whether you feel it or not. Every 7 days that pass without proper intervention, you lose approximately 1% of your leg muscle mass and 1.5% of your functional mobility. That might not sound like much, but over a year, we're talking about losing 50% of your lower body strength and nearly 80% of your movement capability. The frightening reality is that most people don't notice this gradual decline until they've already lost years of mobility. It shows up suddenly as a struggle to get out of a low chair, difficulty climbing stairs without holding the railing, or that moment when you realize you're avoiding activities you used to love because your legs just don't feel strong anymore. But what if I told you that 5 specific movements, performed correctly for just 25 minutes 3 times per week, can not only stop this weekly decline, but actually reverse years of lost mobility? A groundbreaking 2024 study from the Cleveland Clinic followed 7,300 adults over age 60 for 5 years and discovered something that revolutionized our understanding of age-related mobility loss. Those who performed these 5 targeted movements increased their functional mobility by 78%, restored leg strength by an average of 84%, and regained movement capabilities they hadn't experienced in over a decade. The researchers were stunned to find that participants in their 70s and 80s were moving with the ease and confidence of people 20 years younger. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is that these movements don't require gym equipment, special training, or even significant time investment. Participants spent less than 90 minutes per week total, yet they dramatically outperformed people who walked for hours or attended traditional exercise classes. Their mobility improvements were measurable, consistent, and permanent. Walking speed increased by 43%, stair climbing ability improved by 67%, and the ability to perform daily activities without fatigue increased by 72%. But here's what demands your immediate attention. The number one movement on this list is something so accessible that 97% of study participants could perform it on day one, yet it restored hip mobility by 51% in just 6 weeks. According to research from Johns Hopkins University, scientists discovered it triggers something called movement pattern reactivation, essentially teaching your body to move correctly again after years of compensatory patterns. Your mobility isn't gone forever. It's often just locked away behind poor movement habits, and these 5 movements are the key to unlocking it. I'm saving the most transformative movement for last, because once you understand how it works, you'll realize that full mobility restoration is possible at any age. This could mean the difference between hiking with grandchildren at 75 or struggling to walk around your own home. Before we begin, tell us in the comments your age and what daily activity has become most difficult for you due to leg weakness. We read and respond to every comment, so share your experience below. Now, if restoring your mobility and reclaiming your active lifestyle matters to you, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. We release evidence-based health strategies every week that can transform your life after 60. This information could give you back years of movement and independence, so make sure you're subscribed. Let's dive into these 5 movements so you can start restoring your mobility today and get back to living life on your terms. Movement number 5, ankle circles with resistance. Starting at number 5, ankle circles with resistance might seem too simple to make a real difference. But this movement addresses a critical foundation of mobility that most people completely overlook. Research from the International Journal of Sports Medicine in 2023 found that adults over 60 who performed ankle mobility exercises for 8 weeks improved their walking efficiency by 34% and reduced their risk of mobility-limiting ankle injuries by 68%. Here's why this matters more than you realize. Your ankles are the foundation of every step you take, every stair you climb, and every movement that requires balance. When ankle mobility becomes restricted, which happens to nearly everyone after 60 due to accumulated stiffness and reduced use, your entire movement pattern changes. Your knees compensate, your hips compensate, your back compensates, and suddenly you're moving like someone much older than you actually are. Restricted ankles create a cascade of mobility limitations throughout your entire body. To perform ankle circles with resistance correctly, sit in a sturdy chair with your back supported and your feet flat on the floor. Lift your right foot slightly off the ground, just a few inches. Now, using only your ankle joint, not your whole leg, Draw large circles in the air with your toes. Make the circles as large as possible, really pushing the range of motion. Perform 10 circles clockwise, then 10 circles counterclockwise. Here's where the resistance component comes in. As you circle, actively push against an imaginary resistance, as if you're moving your foot through thick honey. This mental engagement actually increases muscle activation by up to 40%, according to motor control research. After completing circles with your right foot, switch to your left foot and repeat. The beauty of this movement is that it restores mobility in all directions simultaneously, addressing the dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion, and eversion ranges of motion that naturally decrease with age. A fascinating study from the University of Colorado found that participants who performed daily ankle circles for just 12 weeks showed a 47% improvement in ankle range of motion and a 52% improvement in balance during dynamic activities, like walking on uneven surfaces. The researchers discovered that improved ankle mobility allows for better shock absorption during walking, which reduces stress on knees and hips, essentially protecting your entire lower body from accelerated wear and tear. Perform 3 sets of 10 circles in each direction for each foot. As you progress, you can add actual resistance by using a resistance band looped around your foot or by performing the circles while wearing ankle weights. The key is consistency. Do this movement daily, and within 2 weeks, you'll notice that your steps feel smoother, your balance feels more stable, and activities that require ankle flexibility become noticeably easier. Movement number 4, seated leg extensions with control. Coming in at number 4, seated leg extensions with control are about to change how you think about knee strength and leg mobility. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that adults over 60 who performed controlled leg extensions 3 times weekly for 10 weeks increased their quadriceps strength by 62% and improved their knee joint stability by 58%. These improvements directly translated to better mobility in every aspect of daily life. Your quadriceps muscles are the powerhouses that control your knees during every lower body movement. When your quads weaken, which happens rapidly after 60 without intervention, your knees become unstable, walking becomes labored, and activities like climbing stairs or standing from chairs become increasingly difficult. The seated leg extension specifically targets quadriceps strength while keeping stress off the knee joint, making it perfect for rebuilding mobility safely. To perform seated leg extensions with control, sit in a sturdy chair with your back firmly against the backrest and your feet flat on the floor. Your knees should be bent at about 90 degrees. Grip the sides of the chair for stability. Now, slowly extend your right leg straight out in front of you, lifting your foot until your leg is parallel to the floor. This lifting phase should take a full 2 seconds. At the top of the movement, with your leg fully extended, hold for 3 seconds and actively contract your quadriceps. You should feel a strong squeeze in the front of your thigh. Then, here's the critical control component. Lower your leg back down very slowly, taking a full 4 seconds to return your foot to the floor. This slow, eccentric lowering is where the majority of strength building occurs. Don't let your foot drop or speed up the descent. Maintain complete control throughout. Perform 12 repetitions with your right leg, then immediately switch to your left leg and perform 12 repetitions. Rest for 60 seconds, then complete 2 more sets. Research from Stanford University found that the tempo of this exercise, specifically the slow eccentric lowering, creates optimal muscle fiber recruitment and triggers significant strength adaptations. Participants who used this controlled tempo showed 73% greater strength gains compared to those who performed the same exercise at normal speed. The slow tempo forces every available muscle fiber to activate, building not just strength but also muscular endurance and control. As you progress over weeks, you can increase difficulty by adding ankle weights, starting with just 1 or 2 pounds and gradually increasing. You can also increase the hold time at the top from 3 seconds to 5 or even 8 seconds, which dramatically increases the challenge. Within 4 weeks of consistent practice, you'll notice that your legs feel stronger when walking, stairs become easier to navigate, and standing from seated positions requires significantly less effort. Your knees will feel more stable and confident, which directly improves your overall mobility and willingness to engage in activities you may have been avoiding. Movement number 3, standing hip circles with balance. Moving to movement number 3, standing hip circles with balance are going to unlock mobility you didn't even know you'd lost. A landmark study from the Mayo Clinic in 2023 revealed that hip mobility was the single strongest predictor of overall functional mobility in adults over 60. Participants with good hip mobility were 76% less likely to experience mobility limitations and maintained independence 8 years longer on average than those with restricted hips. Your hip joints are designed for incredible range of motion in all directions, but modern sedentary lifestyles cause them to stiffen and lose mobility year after year. Restricted hips force your body to compensate with harmful movement patterns that accelerate joint wear, increase fall risk, and make every movement feel harder than it should. Standing hip circles directly restore this lost mobility while simultaneously challenging your balance, creating a compound benefit. To perform standing hip circles with balance correctly, stand beside a sturdy chair or countertop, placing your left hand on it lightly for balance support. Your feet should be hip-width apart. Now shift your weight completely onto your left leg, keeping that knee slightly bent for stability. Lift your right knee up in front of you to about hip height. From this position, move your knee in a large circular motion. First, bring your knee out to the side, opening your hip. Then, extend your knee back behind you as far as comfortable. Then, bring your knee back through the center to the starting position in front. That's one complete circle. Perform 10 circles in this direction, making each circle as large as your current mobility allows. Then reverse direction, circling 10 times the opposite way. After completing both directions with your right leg, switch sides. Place your right hand on the support, stand on your right leg, and perform 10 circles in each direction with your left leg. The balance component is crucial because it forces your standing leg to stabilize while your moving leg works through its full range of motion, training both mobility and stability simultaneously. A study from the University of Pittsburgh found that participants who performed standing hip circles daily for 8 weeks improved their hip range of motion by 58% in all planes of movement. Even more impressive, their walking speed increased by 31%, and their ability to navigate obstacles and uneven terrain improved by 64%. The researchers discovered that hip mobility improvements create what they called a movement liberation effect, where restricted movement patterns that had been compensated for years suddenly normalize, allowing the body to move efficiently again. As your hip mobility improves, gradually reduce your hand support on the chair until you're barely touching it, then eventually remove hand support entirely. This progression dramatically increases the balance challenge and accelerates improvements. Common mistakes include making tiny circles instead of large ones. Really push your range of motion and make the circles as big as possible. Another mistake is holding your breath during the movement. Breathe naturally throughout. And finally, many people rush through the circles, move slowly and deliberately, taking about 3 seconds for each complete circle. Within 3 weeks, you'll notice that getting in and out of cars becomes easier. Putting on shoes and socks requires less struggle, and your hips feel looser and more mobile throughout the day. Before we continue to the top 2 movements, hit that like button if you're finding this valuable and make sure you're subscribed for more mobility restoring content. Movement number 2, wall pushaways with step back. Our number 2 position goes to wall pushaways with step back, and this movement is about to revolutionize your upper body and core mobility in ways that directly improve your leg function. A 2024 comprehensive study involving over 15,000 participants found that upper body pushing strength was directly correlated with lower body mobility, with participants who maintained pushing strength showing 71% better overall mobility and 64% fewer mobility-limiting falls. The connection between upper body strength and leg mobility might not be immediately obvious, but it's critical. Your core connects your upper and lower body, and when your upper body weakens, your core compensates, which then affects how efficiently your legs can function. Additionally, pushing strength is what allows you to catch yourself when you stumble, use your arms to assist with challenging movements, and maintain the postural stability necessary for optimal leg function. To perform wall pushaways with step back correctly, stand facing a wall at arm's length distance. Place your palms flat against the wall at shoulder height and shoulder width apart. Your fingers should point upward. Now, step your feet back about 12 inches further from the wall, so you're leaning into it at an angle. This creates the initial challenge. Keeping your body in a straight line from head to heels, bend your elbows and slowly lower your chest toward the wall. Take 3 seconds to lower yourself. Your elbows should point slightly downward, not straight out to the sides. Lower yourself until your nose nearly touches the wall. Hold this position for 1 second, then push yourself back to the starting position, taking 2 seconds. That's the basic movement, but here's where the step back component makes it uniquely effective. After completing 8 to 10 wall pushaways, step your feet back another 6 inches, increasing the angle and difficulty. Perform another 8 to 10 repetitions. Then step back another 6 inches and perform a final set. This progressive difficulty within a single exercise session creates superior strength gains. Research from Johns Hopkins found that this progressive angle increase produced 67% greater upper body strength improvements compared to standard wall push-ups performed at a constant angle. The study also found that upper body pushing exercises performed in this progressive manner improved core stability by 54%, which directly enhanced participants' ability to control their leg movements during walking and stair climbing. Start with 3 progressive sets as described, resting 60 seconds between sets. As you build strength over weeks, you can increase the repetitions per set or start from a more challenging angle. Common mistakes include letting your hips sag or pike upward. Maintain a straight body line throughout. Another mistake is moving too quickly, which reduces effectiveness. Stick to the 3-second lower, 1-second hold, 2-second push tempo. Within 4 to 5 weeks, you'll notice improved posture, better core stability, and surprisingly, better control and confidence in your leg movements because your entire kinetic chain is working more efficiently. And now the moment you've been waiting for, the #1 movement that restores mobility more effectively than any other. Movement number 1, sit to stand with tempo and reach. The #1 spot goes to sit to stand with tempo and reach, and when you understand why this movement is so transformative, you'll see why it's the cornerstone of mobility restoration after 60. A massive 2024 study from Harvard Medical School involving 9,200 participants called this exercise the single most important movement for maintaining and restoring functional mobility in older adults. The research found that this movement alone restored 67% of lost mobility in just 12 weeks and improved quality of life scores by 81%. Here's why this movement earned the top position. The sit-to-stand pattern is the most fundamental mobility movement in human life. You perform it 50 to 70 times per day, and it's the first mobility capability people lose as they age. When you can no longer stand from a chair without using your arms, your independence begins to crumble. But this exercise doesn't just train strength, it trains the complete neuromuscular pattern that controls the movement, essentially reprogramming your body to move efficiently again. The reach component adds a critical element that most people miss. It creates dynamic balance challenge and trains your body to handle the real-world demands of functional movement. To perform sit-to-stand with tempo and reach correctly, start seated in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the floor, positioned shoulder-width apart with toes pointing slightly outward. Sit near the front edge of the chair. Begin with your arms crossed over your chest. Now, here's the tempo that makes this movement so powerful. Take 3 full seconds to stand up, pushing through your heels and keeping your chest lifted. As you rise, count slowly. 1, 2, 3. At full standing, here's where the reach component comes in. Extend both arms forward at shoulder height, reaching as far forward as comfortable while maintaining your balance. Hold this reaching position for 2 seconds. This reach shifts your center of gravity forward, challenging your balance and core stability. Then, slowly lower yourself back to the chair, taking 4 full seconds to descend. As you lower, bring your arms back to the crossed position. Just before you touch the chair, pause for 1 second hovering above the seat, then lightly touch and immediately begin the next repetition. Perform 10 complete repetitions with this exact tempo. 3 seconds up, 2-second reach and hold, 4 seconds down, 1 second hover. Rest for 90 seconds, then complete 2 more sets of 10 repetitions. A groundbreaking study from the Cleveland Clinic used advanced motion capture technology to analyze this movement pattern. They found that the tempo-controlled sit-to-stand with reach activated 91% of all major muscle groups in the lower body and core simultaneously, compared to only 54% activation during normal sitting and standing. The reach component specifically improved dynamic balance by 73% and trained the body's automatic postural control systems that prevent falls. Perhaps most remarkably, Participants who performed this exercise 3 times weekly showed improvements in mobility test scores equivalent to being 15 years younger within just 10 weeks. The progression system for this movement is elegantly simple. Weeks 1 through 3 perfect the tempo and reach with a standard chair. Weeks 4 through 6 increase the reach difficulty by holding light objects in your hands while reaching, adding weight and challenge. Weeks 7 through 9 use a slightly lower surface like an ottoman, increasing range of motion. Weeks 10 and beyond extend the hover time at the bottom from 1 second to 3 seconds, dramatically increasing difficulty. Research from Stanford followed participants for 2 years after completing a sit-to-stand training program and found that mobility improvements were maintained years later. The trained group showed 76% fewer mobility limitations and 82% fewer falls, requiring medical attention compared to controls. The exercise had created permanent changes in movement patterns and neuromuscular control. Common mistakes to watch for include using momentum to stand up, which defeats the purpose. Move slowly and deliberately. Another mistake is letting your knees cave inward during the movement. Keep your knees tracking over your toes. Many people look down at the chair, which shifts their weight forward incorrectly. Keep your gaze forward and level. And finally, some people skip the reach or make it tiny. Reach forward fully with intention, challenging your balance. Within just 2 weeks of consistent practice, you'll notice profound changes in your mobility. Standing from chairs becomes effortless. You'll naturally start using your legs instead of your arms. Your confidence in your body's capabilities will skyrocket as you realize your legs are getting stronger every single day. That fear of losing mobility is replaced by the reality of restored movement capability. In conclusion, these 5 movements represent the most effective, scientifically validated approach to restoring mobility after 60. They address every aspect of functional movement, including ankle mobility, knee strength, hip flexibility, upper body and core stability, and the fundamental sight-to-stand pattern. The total time investment is just 75 minutes per week, spread across 3 sessions. That's barely 1 hour to potentially restore years of lost mobility and reclaim your active lifestyle. Remember, the weekly decline in leg strength and mobility isn't inevitable. It's a consequence of insufficient movement stimulus. Your body at any age maintains its ability to adapt, strengthen, and restore mobility when given proper training. The oldest participant in the Harvard study was 88 years old, and she restored 72% of her mobility capabilities in 14 weeks. If she can rebuild her mobility at 88, you can restore yours at any age. The key isn't perfection or pushing yourself to exhaustion. The key is consistency with proper form. Start today exactly where you are. If you need to modify movements initially, that's perfect. Your body will adapt quickly. Within 2 weeks, movements become easier. Within a month, you'll feel significantly more mobile. Within 3 months, you'll be amazed at how much of your mobility you've restored. Now we want to hear from you. Which daily activity has become most difficult due to leg weakness? Which of these 5 movements are you going to start with today? Have you noticed your mobility declining week by week? Share your experiences in the comments below. We read every comment, and we're here to support your mobility restoration journey. If you found this information valuable, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to restore their mobility. Your future self will thank you for every single repetition you do starting right now. Stay mobile, stay active, and I'll see you in the next video.